Hi, my name is Basir. In this video, we'll be working out exercise 5.2 problems. The first question says, find the roots of the following quadratic equations by factorization. Okay, roots means you actually need to find out the value of x. And if you see a quadratic equation, x square minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0, you pretty much know that the degree of a quadratic equation is 2, right? Which means I'll be getting two roots for this. Let's see how to do factorization. Factorization is pretty simple. I don't have a coefficient of x square, so when you don't have a coefficient, it pretty much means that the coefficient is 1. This is what you pretty much have to do to factorize this. You just multiply the coefficient of x square, which is 1, with the constant term 10. 1 into 10 is 10. Now if you add these two numbers or if you subtract these two numbers, you have to get the middle number, which is 3. If I add 1 and 10, I get 11. 1 plus 10 is 11. And if I subtract them, I'm getting 10 minus 1 as 9. I'm not getting 3. But I can do this. 10, it also goes in 5 table, right? 5 2s are 10. Now if I subtract 5 minus 2, I get 3. Here the middle term is not 3, it is minus 3. So I'll take the bigger number as minus and then the smaller number as plus. Minus 5 plus 2 is minus 3. So minus 3x, the middle number is minus 3x here, the middle term is minus 3x. I can write minus 3x as minus 5x plus 2x. So in place of this minus 3x, I'll write minus 5x plus 2x. The last term minus 10, I'm writing it as it is. Once you split the middle term, so see here, we have split the middle term here. Instead of minus 3x, we are splitting it and we are writing it as minus 5x plus 2x. Once we split the middle term, we just have to take common from the first two terms and then take common from the take a term, take something common from the last two terms. From the first two terms, I can take x as common. So once I take x as common, I would get x minus 5 here. And from these two terms, I can take 2 as common because 2 and 10, they both go in 2 table, right? So I can take 2 common. If I remove 2 from here, x will be remaining, and 2 5s are 10. Now this is x minus 5 and this is also x minus 5. So if I take x minus 5 common, I'll get x, and from here if I take x minus 5 common, I end up getting plus 2. X minus 5 into x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now we'll find out the roots. The product of x minus 5 and x plus 2 is equal to 0, which means the first term is equal to 0, or else the second term is equal to 0. The first this thing is equal to 0, x minus 5 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Minus 5, if I take to the right hand side, it becomes plus 5. Plus 2, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes minus 2. So I have two roots here, 5 and minus 2. Let me go ahead and do few more problems here, just so you understand the understand how to do factorization. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the second bit here. 2x square plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Again, you just need to do the same thing, multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant term. So I have to multiply 2 with 6. 2 6 are 12. Now if I add these two numbers or if I subtract these two numbers, I have to get the coefficient of the middle term. The coefficient of the middle term is 1. But if I add these two numbers now, 6 plus 2, I'm getting 8. And if I subtract these two numbers, 6 minus 2, I'm getting 4. I'm not getting 1. So I'll do this thing here. 12, it also goes in 4 table, right? 4 3s are 12. Now 4 minus 3 is how much? 1. I have to get 1x here. 1x is the middle term, so I can write 1x as 4x minus 3x. So instead of 1x, I am going to write 4x minus 3x. Again, once you split the middle term, you have to take common from the first two terms and then take something common from the last two terms. What can we take common from the first two terms? 2, the first term has 2 and the second term has 4. 2 and 4, they both go in 2 tables, so I'm taking 2 common, and then in both the terms, the first term and the second term, you have x, right? So I can take x also common. If I take 2x common from the first term, I get 2x. I just end up getting x, because 2x into x is x square. 2 2s are 4. Now I'm taking common from the next two terms here, these two terms. The first term has 3 and the second term has 6. They both go in 3 table, so I'm taking 3 common. And when you are taking common, if the first term has minus sign, then make sure you also take minus sign as common. So I'm taking minus 3 as common. If I remove minus 3, I get x here, and then 3 2s are 6. If you carefully look here, this was minus 6, but since I took minus sign common, I get plus here, right? Because if I expand it, I should end up getting the same thing, right? Minus 3 into x is minus 3x, minus into plus is minus 3 2s are 6. I end up getting the same thing here. ठीक है. If you do factorization properly, you will notice that these two terms would be equal. This is x plus 2 and this is also x plus 2. Now if you take x plus 2 common, if I take x plus 2 common from here, I end up getting 2x, and if I take x plus 2 common from here, I get minus 3. Product of these two terms is equal to 0, which means first term is equal to 0 or else second term is equal to 0. X plus 2 is equal to 0 or 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. Plus 2 if I take to the right hand side, it becomes minus 2. Minus 3 if I take to the right hand side, it becomes plus 3. Looks like something is wrong with my pen. So x is 3 by 2, right? 2 is multiplying on the left hand side, 2 will divide on the right hand side. So we have two values here, x is minus 2 or x is 3 by 2. So we have two roots of this quadratic polynomial, quadratic equation. The rest of the bits, I believe you can do it on your own. Again, in these problems from problem number 2 till problem number 10, we just have to convert a given question in the form of a quadratic equation, and again I'll have to factorize the quadratic equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the second problem here. The second problem says find two numbers whose sum is 27. We'll have to find two numbers whose sum is 27 and product is 182. Let the two numbers be x and 27 minus x, because if you add both of these numbers, x and 27 minus x plus x minus x gets cancelled and you end up getting the sum as 27. Here it says that the sum of two numbers is 27. So if one number is x, the other number obviously will be 27 minus x. According to the question, the product is 182. So the product of these two numbers, x and 2x minus 27 minus x, is 182. I'll just multiply the left hand side by x and I'll open the bracket here. 27 into x is 27x, x into x is x square. This term, if I take it to the right hand side, the signs changes. Minus x square, if it goes to the right hand side, it becomes plus x square. Plus 27x, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes minus 27x. Plus 182 is equal to 0. Now again we just need to go ahead and factorize this. Give me just 1 minute here. I'll grab a glass of water and come back. Okay, so we again have to factorize this quadratic equation. The coefficient of x square is 1. We have to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant term, which is 182. 1 into 182 is 182. Now if you add these two numbers or if you subtract these two numbers, you have to get the coefficient of the middle term, which is 27. But if I add these two numbers, I am getting 182 and if I 183, and if I subtract 182 and 1, I end up getting 181. I don't get 27. So we'll have to consider other factors of 182. 182 also goes in other tables also, right? 291 is 182. What else? It does not go in 3 table. It does not go in 4 table. It does not go in 5 table. It doesn't go in 6 table. It goes in 7 table, right? 7 2s are 14. 18 minus 14 is 4. So this becomes 42. 7 6 are 42. So 7 into 26 is 182. But if I add 26 and 7, I'm getting 33. Right. And if I subtract these two terms, I'm getting 19. I'm not getting 27. So I'll have to find other factors of 182. 14 into 13 is also 182. 14 minus 13 is 14 plus 13 is 27. But I actually need to get minus 27, so I can take it like this. Minus 14 minus 13 is minus 27. Minus 27x, I can write it as minus 14x minus 13x. So minus 27x, middle term minus 27x, I can split it as minus 14x minus 13x. Last term 182 I am writing as it is. After I split the middle term, I will have to take common from the first two terms and take common from the last two terms. What can we take common from the first two terms? So we can take x common from the first two terms. If I take x common, then I get x minus 14. Now if I what can I take common from these two terms here? 13x and 182. I can take 13 common. Also this 13x, it has minus sign here, right? If the first term has minus sign, you also have to take minus sign common. So I'm taking minus 13 common. When I take minus 13 common, I end up getting x minus 14 again. This is x minus 14, this is also x minus 14. I'll take x minus 14 common. If I take x minus 14 common, I get x minus 13 is equal to 0. X minus 14 and x minus 13 is equal to 0, which means if the product of these two things is equal to 0, the first one is equal to 0, or else the second one is equal to 0. So x minus 14 is equal to 0, or x minus 13 is equal to 0. Minus 14, if I take to the right hand side, it becomes plus 14. And minus 13, if I take to the right hand side, it becomes plus 13. What do we need to find out here? We had to find out two numbers, right? Okay. And we took those two numbers as x and 27 minus x. We took those two numbers as, we assumed those two numbers as x and 27 minus x. And we got two values for x, right? So we have two cases here. Case 1, case 2. When value of x is 14, the two numbers are, we took the two numbers as x and 27 minus x, right? So I'll substitute the value of x as 14. 27 minus 14. 14 comma 13. Here when the value of x is 13, we had taken the two numbers as x and 27 minus x, right? We'll substitute the value of 13 here. In place of 30 x, we'll substitute the value of x here. In place of x, I'm writing 13. Here also in place of x, I'm writing 13. So I end up getting 27 minus 13 as 14. So these are our two numbers. 13 and 14 are the two numbers. Let us go ahead and solve the next one here. Find two consecutive positive integers, sum of whose squares is 613. I told you earlier, if I take the first integer as x, then the next consecutive integer would be x plus 1. I just need to add 1 to the current integer to get the next consecutive integer. So I'm assuming let the two consecutive integers be x and x plus 1. Now according to the question, it says sum of whose squares is 613, which means the square of the first number and the square of the second number, the sum of squares of these two numbers is equal to 613. That's what it says. Second term is x plus 1 whole square, which is in the form of a plus b whole square. So I'll be expanding it using a plus b whole square formula, which is a square plus 2ab plus b square. X square plus x square is 2x square. 2x into 1 is 2x. 2x square plus 2x plus 1 plus 613. If I take it to the left hand side, it becomes minus 613. 2x square plus 2x. 613 minus 1 is 612, right? I can take 2 common from the complete equation. If I take 2 common, I end up getting x square plus x. 2 3s are 6. 2 6 are 12. Right. X square plus x minus 306 is equal to 0 by 2. 2 is multiplying on the left hand side, so 2 will divide on the right hand side. Let me just go ahead and take a new worksheet here. Okay, let's go ahead and factorize x square plus x minus 306. If you do not really have a coefficient, then the coefficient is 1. So the coefficient of x square is 1, the coefficient of x is 1. As always, you multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant term, which is 306. 1 into 306 is 306. Now if you add these two numbers or if you subtract these two numbers, you have to get the coefficient of the middle term, which is 1. But that's not happening here. If I add 306 and 1, I'm getting 307, and if I subtract 1 from 306, I'm getting 305. I'm not getting 1. Now this number 306 is pretty big. When the number is big, you get so many factors for 306, right? Okay, let's go ahead and do it. It goes in 2 table. 2 into 153 should be 306. 153 and 2, if I add them, I get 155. If I subtract them, I get 151. I'm not getting 1 here. Okay, 306, it also goes in other tables also. 3 into 102 is 306. Even this is not working for us. If I add 3 and 102, I'm getting 105. If I subtract, I get 99, but I'm not getting 1 here, right? Okay. So likewise, if you try several set of other numbers, you see that 18 into 17 is 306, and 18 minus 17 is 1. 18 minus 17 is 1. So the middle term 1x, I can write it as 18x minus 17x, right? So the middle term 1x, I can split it as 18x minus 17x. So when this number becomes larger, the number of factors that you get becomes lengthy. So in such cases, we have 2 other methods also for finding roots from roots of a quadratic equation. The other 2 methods are method of completing squares, which we'll be learning after this, and then we also have a quadratic formula that we can use to find out the roots of a quadratic equation. Okay, so once you split the middle term, you have to take common from the first 2 terms and then take common from the last 2 terms. What can I take common from the first 2 terms? The first term has x square and the second term has x, so I can take x common, right? I get x plus 18, and from the last 2 terms I can take minus 17 common, so I get x plus 18, because 17 into 18 is 306. Now this is x plus 18 and this is x plus 18, so I am taking x plus 18 common. If I take x plus 18 common from here, I get x. and if I take x plus 18 common from here, I get minus 17. So when the product is 0, x plus 18 should be equal to 0, or this thing, the second one, x minus 17 should be equal to 0. Plus 18 if I take to the right hand side, it becomes minus 18. Minus 17 if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 17. So we actually wanted to find out the two consecutive positive integers, and we took the two consecutive positive integers as x and x plus 1. So here the question is, let me go back to the question here. The question is, find two consecutive positive integers, right? This is minus 18, it's not positive, so I'm going to ignore this. Therefore, the two consecutive positive integers are, we took the integers as x and x plus 1, right? So in place of x, I'll have to substitute 17 here, which means I'll get the first one as 17, and the second one I'm substituting x as 17 here again. So 17 plus 1, it becomes 18. So these are the two consecutive positive integers, 17 and 18. So these questions are pretty simple. All you have to do is you just need to understand the question, represent a given situation in the form of a quadratic equation, and then factorize it to find out the roots. As simple as that. Let us go ahead and solve the fourth question here. The altitude of a right triangle is 7 centimeter less than its base. Okay, I'll go ahead and first draw a right angle triangle here. Let's say this is our right angle triangle. A right angle triangle is a triangle in which one of the angle is 90 degrees, right? Okay, so it is saying here that the altitude of a right triangle is 7 centimeter less than its base. This is the base here, AB is the base, and BC is the altitude. Altitude is also known as height, right? Altitude is nothing but height. So it is saying that the height is 7 centimeter less than the base. So if I take this base AB as x, the height BC is 7 centimeters less, which means it is x minus 7. Hypotenuse is given as 13. The slant line AC is always the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is given as 13. Find the other two sides. We have to find out the other two sides, which means AB and BC. ठीक है. In a right angle triangle, you can apply Pythagoras theorem, right? According to Pythagoras theorem, square of the hypotenuse is sum of squares of other two sides. What are the other two sides here? AB and BC. So AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. The value of AC is given as 13, so I'll substitute 13 here in place of AC. And AB we don't know, we took it as x. BC is x minus 7. 13 square is 169. X square plus this second term here, x minus 7 whole square, is in the form of a minus b whole square. So I'm expanding it by using a minus b whole square formula, which is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So a minus b whole square is a square minus 2ab plus b square, right? X square plus x square becomes 2x square. 2 into 7 is 14. X plus 7 square is how much? 49. Oh my goodness, this is x square, right? Now if I take 169 to the right hand side, it becomes plus 169 will become minus 169. Okay, my bad, this is 2x square. X square plus x square is 2x square. 2x square minus 14x plus 49 minus 169 is equal to 0. 49 minus 169, let me subtract 49 from 169. I get 120. 2x square minus 14x. 169 is the bigger number. and the sign is minus, so I get minus 120 here. Again, all the terms, we can cancel all the terms here by 2 table, or else we can just take 2 common from all the terms. 2 7s are 14, 2 60s are 120, so I get here x square minus 7x minus 60 is equal to 0. 2 is multiplying on the left hand side, so it divides on the right hand side. X square minus 7x minus 60, 0 by 2 is 0. Now again I need to factorize this. I should multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant term 60. 1 into 60 is 60. If I add or subtract these two terms, I should get the middle term, which is 7. Now if I add these two terms, 60 and 1, I'm getting 61. If I subtract, I'm getting 59. No issues. I can take other factors of 60. 12 5s is also 60. Now 12 minus 5 is 7, but I should actually get minus 7, so I'll have to take 12 as minus and 5 as plus. Minus 12 plus 5 will be minus 7. Middle term minus 7x, I can take it as minus 12x plus 5x, right? So minus 12x plus 5x. Instead of minus 7x, the middle term, I'm splitting it as minus 12x plus 5x. The last term minus 60 I'm writing as it is. Once you split the middle term, as always, you need to take common from the first two terms and then take something common from the last two terms. From the first two terms, I can take x as common, so I get x minus 12. From the last two terms, I can take 5 as common, I get x minus 12. Now this is x minus 12, this is x minus 12, so I can take x minus 12 common, so I get x plus 5 is equal to 0. Let me just make use of this space to complete the rest of the problem here. So x minus 12 into x plus 5 is equal to 0, which means if the product of those two things is equal to 0, then the first one is equal to 0, or else the second one is equal to 0. X minus 12 is equal to 0, or x plus 5 is equal to 0. X is equal to minus 12, if I take to the right hand side, it becomes plus 12. Plus 5, if I take to the right hand side, it becomes minus 5. We actually wanted to find out the sides of a right angle triangle, right? We wanted to find out the base. We took the base as x, and we wanted to find out the height, which we took as x minus 7. Base and height, they cannot be negative, so I'm going to leave this one. X cannot be minus 5, it cannot be minus 5. I'll have to consider x as 12. Base, we took it as x, and the value of x is 12, so base is 12 centimeters. I believe what were the units here? 7 centimeter, right? So base is 12 centimeter, and the height, we took it as x minus 7. In place of x, substitute 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. So the base is 12 centimeter and the height is 5 centimeter. Let me quickly go ahead and take a new worksheet. Let's go ahead and work on I believe fifth one you can try it on your own. Sixth one, ठीक है, I'll do the sixth one. Find the dimensions of a rectangle whose perimeter is 28 meters and whose area is 40 square meters. ठीक है. Perimeter of the rectangle is given as 28 meters. And we all know that the perimeter of a rectangle formula is 2 into L plus B, right? Perimeter of a rectangle is 2 into L plus B. L plus B will be 28. 2 is multiplying on the left hand side, so it will divide on the right hand side. Value of L plus B, I get it as 14. And then it says area is 40 square meters. The area of that rectangle is 40 square meters. Let me just write it down here. Area given given area of rectangle is how much again? 40 square meters. Area of rectangle, everybody knows that area of a rectangle formula is L into B. I'll find out the value of B from the above one. Plus L, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes minus L. So value of B is 14 minus L. I'll substitute the value of B as 14 minus L here. Take it. So value of B is 14 minus L. In place of B, I'll write 14 minus L. L into 14 is 14L, L into L is L square. Now if I take these two terms to the right hand side, signs changes. Minus L square, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus L square. Plus 14L, if I take it to the right hand side, becomes minus 14L. Now again, you have to factorize this quadratic equation. Coefficient of L square is 1. 1 into 40 is 40. This doesn't work because if I add or subtract these two terms, I'm not going to get 14. 40 goes in 10 table also, right? 10 4s are 40, and now if I add 10 and 4, I'm getting 14, right? But I actually need to get minus 14, so I'll take this sign as minus and this sign as minus. Minus 10 minus 4 is minus 14, so minus 14L, I can write it as minus 10L minus 4L. Minus 10L minus 4L. Take common from the first two terms, take common from the last two terms. I can take L common from the first two terms, and then I can take 4 common minus 4 common from the next two terms. Now here you have L minus 10 and you have L minus 10 here. Take L minus 10 common, you get L here, and then if you take L minus 10 common from the second term, you get minus 4. So if the product is equal to 0, L minus 10 into L minus 4 is equal to 0, it means that the first term is first value L minus 10 is equal to 0, or else the second value L minus 4 is equal to 0. Minus 10, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 10. Minus 4, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 4. We actually wanted to find out the length and breadth, the value of L and B. I am getting two values for L. Okay. So I'll have to consider two cases here, case 1 and case 2. When the value of L is 10, the value of B should be, B is 14 minus L from this, right? So B is 14 minus L. Let me rewrite that. B is 14 minus L. In place of L, I'm substituting 10, which means breadth is 4. So when the length is 10, breadth is 4. And now when the length is 4, breadth would be 14 minus 4 is 10. So length is 10, breadth is 4, or else length is 4 and breadth is 10. The base of a triangle is 4 cm longer than its altitude. I believe you can do it on your own. Yeah, you guys can just try this on your own. Eighth one, let me go ahead and do the eighth one here. Okay, so this eighth question says two trains leave a railway station at the same time. The first train travels towards west and the second train travels towards north. So let us consider this one. I've drawn the this thing here. This direction is north, and thus you have south, and this is east, and this is west. So the question says, let's say the train was at this point here. Let's say the train was at this point here. Now the first train, it says that it traveled towards west, so it traveled towards west in this direction, and then there's the another train, the second train, which traveled towards north, right? And after, now what does it say? The first train travels towards west, which I did. The first train traveled towards west, and then the second train traveled towards north here, and the first train travels 5 km faster than the second train. So let's say the speed of the second train is x km per hour, then the speed of the first train, which is traveling towards west, would be x plus 5, because it says in the question the speed of first train is 5 kilometers faster than the second train. So if the speed of the second train I take it as x, then the speed of the first train would be x plus 5. If after 2 hours they are 50 km apart, find the average speed of each train. So after 2 hours, the distance between the two trains, the first train, let's say it's here after 2 hours, and then the second train, it is here after 2 hours. The distance between both the trains, this distance, it is 50 km. So now this becomes a right angle triangle. Let me go ahead and just draw this right angle triangle here, and I'll name this triangle as ABC, right angled at B. So this distance is 50 kilometers. It's given in the question. The first train travels 5 km faster, right, than the second train. So I took, let us just take the speed of the second train as x km per hour. Let the speed of the second train is x km per hour, and the speed of the first train is x plus 5, because it says that the second train is 5 kilometers faster than the first train is 5 kilometers faster than the second train. So if the second train is x, first kilometer would be first train, the speed of the first train would be x plus 5. And we all know that distance is speed into time. So let us first find out what is the distance traveled by the second train. Distance is speed into time. Speed of the second train is x, and it says that it traveled for 2 kilometers, 2 hours, right? So in place of time I'm writing 2. So the distance traveled by the second train is 2x, and let us now calculate the distance traveled by the first train. Distance formula is again speed into time. Speed of the first train is x plus 5, and time is obviously 2. So 2 into x is 2x, 2 5s are 10. That's the distance that is traveled by the first train, 2x plus 10. Let's just use Pythagoras theorem to find out the value of x here. We know that according to Pythagoras theorem, AC square should be equal to AB square plus BC square. The value of AC from this diagram is 50, 50, and the value of AB is 2x plus 10. The value of BC is 2x. 50 square should be 2500. This is in the form of a plus b whole square, so I'm expanding it by using a plus b whole square formula, which is a square plus 2ab plus b square. 2x square would be 4x square, right? 2500 is equal to 2x square will be 4x square. 2 2s are 4, 4 10s are 40, 40x plus 10 square will be 100 plus 4x square I'm writing as it is. Now 4x square plus 4x square, it becomes 8x square plus 40x plus 100 plus 2500. If I take it to the right hand side, it becomes minus 2500. So 8x square plus 40x, 100 minus plus 100 minus 2500. 25 minus 100 minus 100 would be 2400. Bigger number is 2500, sign is minus, so it should be minus 2400. Now 8x square plus 40x minus 2400 is equal to 0. All the terms get cancelled by 8 table, right? 8 1s are 8 5s are 8 3s are 24, 0 0 as it is. X square plus 5x minus 300 is equal to 0. Now let us just go ahead and factorize this. Again, I need to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant term, which is 300. 1 into 300 is 300. If I add or subtract these two numbers, I should be getting 5 here, which is not possible here. Let me take other factors of 300 here. 20 into 15 is 300. 20 minus 15 is 5. So the middle term 5x, I can write 5x as 20x minus 15x. So in place of 5x, I can write 20x minus 15x. Minus 300 as it is. Take common from the first two terms and then take common from the last two terms. I can take x common from the first two terms and then I can take minus 15 common from the last two terms. Now this is x plus 20 and this is also x plus 20. Take x plus 20 common. This is x here, this is minus 15. X minus 15 is equal to 0. The product is equal to 0. So this first one should be equal to 0, or else the second one, x minus 15, should be equal to 0. Plus 20 if I take to the right hand side becomes minus 20. Minus 15 if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 15. So in the question it told us to calculate the speed, right? It told us to calculate the speed, and speed cannot be negative. So I'm just going to neglect this. Value of x is minus 20. That does not hold good here. So I'm just going to neglect that. I'll take the value of x as 15. The speed of second train, we took it as x and we got the value of x as 15, right? What's the value of x here? X is 15. So I'll just substitute it here. Value of x is 15. So the speed of the second train is 15 km per hour, and speed of first train is x plus 5. Let's just substitute the value of x as 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. So the speed of the first train is 20 km per hour. So we calculated the speed of both the trains here. Let us go ahead and work on the next problem, ninth problem. I'll have to go ahead and choose a different worksheet, a new worksheet here. Take care. In a class of 60 students, each boy contributed rupees equal to the number of girls, and each girl contributed rupees equal to the number of boys. If the total money then collected was 1600, how many boys are there in the class? Now in total there are 60 students in a class, right? So let's just consider the number of girls as x, then the number of boys would be 60 minus x, right? Let the number of girls is equal to x, then the number of boys will be 60 minus x, because if you add the number of girls and boys, you should be getting 60, right? Now it is given in the question, the contribution that is made by the girls is equal to the number of boys, and the contribution that is made by boys is equal to the number of girls. Take care. So we'll first find out how much contribution boys made. Let's say if I have to find out how much contribution boys made, then I'll have to multiply the number of boys with the number of girls, because each boy contributed the amount which is equal to the number of girls. Or else let me just show it to you this way. Number of girls is x here. I'll have to multiply x with 60 minus x, because that's a contribution that they made, and the number of boys here is 60 minus x. I'll have to multiply that with x, because that's a contribution that they made. X here is the number of girls. I'm multiplying the number of girls with number of boys, because they made contribution equal to the number of boys. So I'm multiplying that by 60 minus x. Now here 60 minus x is the number of boys, and these boys made the contribution equal to the number of girls, and number of girls is x. So I'm multiplying 60 minus x with x, and the total according to the question is 1600. Let me just multiply x with 60 minus x and then open the bracket. X into 60 should be 60x. X into x is x square. 60 into x is 60x. X into x is x square is equal to 1600. 60x plus 60x should be 120x. Minus x square should be minus 2x square. Let me take these two terms to the right hand side. When the side changes, the sign changes. So from left hand side, if I take the terms to the right hand side, the sign will change. Minus 2x square will become plus 2x square, plus 120x will become minus 120x. Again, all the terms I can cancel by 2 table. 2 60s, 2 800s. X square minus 60x plus 800 is equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation again. You just have to multiply the coefficient of x square, which is 1, with the constant term 800. 1 into 800 is 800. If I add or subtract these two numbers, I should be getting the coefficient of middle term, which is 60, but that's not possible here. So I'll take other factors of 800. I can take 40 into 20 as 800, right? Now if I add 40 and 20, I am getting 60. I have to get minus 60 here, so I'll take this as minus. I'll take this as minus. Minus 40 minus 20 is minus 60. So minus 60x, I can write it as minus 40x minus 20x. Take common from the first two terms and take common from the last two terms. From the first two terms, x can be taken as common. From the last two terms, minus 20 can be taken as common, right? So when the product is equal to 0, x minus 40 and into x minus 20 is equal to 0, this first one, x minus 40, should be equal to 0, or else second one should be equal to 0. Minus 40, if I take it to the right hand side, it becomes plus 40. Minus 20, if I take it to the right hand side, becomes plus 20. So I have two values for x here. What do I need to find out? I need to find out the number of boys, right? Is that what it asked here in the question? How many boys are there in the class? Okay. I got two values for x. I'll have to find out the number of boys. Since I got two values for boys, I will get two cases here, case 1, case 2. When the value of x is 40, number of boys would be, we took the number of boys as 60 minus x, right? In place of x, I'll write 40. 60 minus 40 is 20. And when the value of x is 20, the number of boys should be 60 minus 20, which is 40. So the number of boys are 20 if the number of girls are 40, or else if the number of girls are 20, then the number of boys are 40. I believe the last problem, you can do it on your own. I'll just skip it for now. In the next video, we'll go ahead and work on the next in the next video I will teach you how to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, by method of completing square. So until next time, goodbye.